Okay, so this is working on juxtaposing Ishmael and Life of Pi. And I'm explaining the difference between the two. And so...
Neither of which I've read, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. But at least you had heard of Life of Pi.
Yes. I've heard of Ishmael, too.
Okay.
I just can't remember what it's about.
Oh, cool. Ishmael, the plot synopsis is a man is seeking to understand how the world really works, and he has been since he was kind of a child of the 60s.
Nice.
He discovers an ad in the paper that says, teacher seeks pupil, must have an earnest desire to save the world.
Damn.
Apply in person. So this guy shows up to this address expecting some guru schmuck with like pupils at his knee, you know, pregnant with the knowledge that everything would be better if we'd all turn around and give our neighbor a hug. Instead, he shows up to this kind of nondescript building and he finds a gorilla behind glass who talks to him through his head. So,
not based on a true story.
No.
Right.
No, not meant to be taken literally. Definitely meant to be allegorical. And in fact, throughout the novel, he gives this reinterpretation of the stories in Genesis as allegories, like Cain and Abel as war propaganda and stuff from the Semites and like how, you know, this is frustrating because I don't have two cameras. But I wouldn't know how to edit it together. It would be way too much trouble, so I'm trying to make one good thing. I'll try not to focus on you too much.
It's alright.
Okay. Okay, so can you see the screen at all?
I can, yes.
Is it like, hi?
Yeah.
You're all waving. You were waving to the screen.
Everyone loves a camera, dude.
Yeah, it's true.
Your
you were
face
waving
is,
at me.
Perfectly in the middle now.
All right, perfect. Okay. So, yeah, I just have to watch the thumb wants to go on the mic holes on this thing so bad.
That's cool.
Okay, so synopsis of Ishmael, man learns from animal. Synopsis of Life of Pi, man dominates animals.
Okay.
So that's one little kind of intro to the difference.
Yeah.
And the other one, like I said, Ishmael kind of screams, humans belong here, we have a place here, there's nothing wrong with humanity. We have a culture that's destroying the planet, but humans as a species are fine.
And ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of perfect, because it's like, that's how evolution works. You're destroying the planet, you're also killing yourself. It's cool.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that is another central message of Ishmael, is we don't need to do anything. It'll be fine. The system will totally take care of itself, and humans will drive themselves extinct.
Okay.
But that doesn't necessarily have to happen.
Right, we can evolve.
Yeah, and that's where evolution is kind of a metaphor, because again, the central message of Ishmael is humans are fine. We don't need to evolve to a higher state of being in order to be sustainable. So, if what we're doing is mistaking ourselves for humanity. When we say that humans need to evolve, what we really mean is the humans of our culture. Tribal peoples never devolved, kind of quote unquote, from a sustainable state, and they don't need to re-evolve into a sustainable state. So basically what we mean is civilization needs to evolve. So basically it's not humanity that needs to evolve, which we wouldn't have time for anyway. Because evolution kind of takes, you know, eons and shit. And we have like a few decades before we stop.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's physically,
literal level. I
think consciousness can evolve in a second. You don't
That's a really good
years and years for that. I mean, you just need some life-changing events, or I mean, it's happened. It's happened to people. You just never know what can bring about, you know, an experience in somebody, just to raise them to the next level, or to just skew that perspective around enough to change, you know.
Yeah, and
me and my mother talk about this a lot, and my mother is all, you know, she's kind of a Jesus freak, but she's also very new agey, and she's all about the, you know, the heightening of human consciousness altogether and everything, and I'm kind of with her.
Yeah.
Not on everything. She reads some crazy stuff, but I'm kind of with her on that. It's definitely possible. And the more people that become raised to that next level, the more people that will. It's, you know, since it's collective.
Yeah.
If it's kind of like the 100-man rule or something, you know, like.
Oh, remind me what that means.
It's some kind of.
Like a tipping
It was an
point
experiment or something with animals. It was like the monkey washing the potato, and once the 100th monkey started washing the potatoes, all of them did.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It was like on an island or something.
Yeah, something like that. I wish I could remember the name, but you understand.
It reminds me of a Gary Larson cartoon, Animal Preserves.
Oh.
They're all in jars on the savannah.
Wow.
Like a giraffe stuffed into a jar.
Yeah.
Preserves.
Bizarre.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, okay, so, yeah. And this is, like, I really think Quinn nitpicks when he corrects people on this evolutionary thing. He's like, no, evolution happens to populations, it doesn't happen to individuals.
Whatever.
And he's just missing the point. He's just not hearing what people are actually saying. Which is exactly what you said, that individual consciousness changes, and it can change in a second. It can change in a moment with a realization.
Right.
And it kind of happened that way for me when I realized that, oh, you keep making these cute waves at the monitor. Keep doing that. All right, so that kind of happened to me when I was reading this Life of Pi the second time, and I realized that as much as the central message of Ishmael is we belong here and we are in the same boat as every other creature on Earth. The central message of Life of Pi, or the central worldview of Life of Pi is, okay, yeah, we've stuck this kid in this boat with a tiger, an orang, a hyena, and whatever else. But in reality, the central, the point of view of Life of Pi is the typical one. We're not in the same boat. Life of Pi is all about the distinction between animal and man.
Okay.
Ishmael is all about blurring that distinction and understanding that humans are just as unique as any other species, but not more unique.
Okay.
We're just as special as any other species, but we're not specially special.
Right.
And the same process that would make any other unsustainable behaviors go extinct.
Have you ever read any Ken Webber? He wrote a book called A Brief History of Everything, or something like that. It's kind of a scientific yet new agey psychological endeavor to understand consciousness.
Cool. No.
It's really neat. It's kind of a thick one. It's a little dry in some places, but it's also really interesting.
Ken Webber, I've heard of him.
He makes the distinction between humans and animals in an interesting way, and I'm still kind of struggling with it. I can't make up my mind about it. He says that a worm contributes less to the universal consciousness than a human being.
Okay.
Therefore, the human being is a more valuable creature than the worm because of the level of consciousness that it imparts.
That's fascinating because it, of course, reminds me of one of Quinn's examples that you could probably get from any biologist. Probably any biologist would tell you, especially any kind of ecologist, that earthworms are far more important to the functioning of the global biosphere than humans, or even the category mammals.
Yeah.
Hell, earthworms are probably more central than vertebrates.
Yeah.
And I've heard that if earthworms were to disappear tomorrow,
we would all be dead in like
a couple weeks or something because of the way they process everything.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to eat.
So, I suppose consciousness aside, what this kind of gets down to is almost the central problem of a missionary somewhere where people are starving. Does he save their soul and teach them Jesus? Or does he put food in their mouth first and then maybe kind of say, this came from Jesus, and kind of try and intro it that way? Kind of lube it up, slip it in, you know?
Well, I heard a phrase, I think Yogananda said it actually, if you've heard of him. He said something to the effect of, if you are on a spiritual path, the rest of your life will take care of itself. So it's basically take care of your connection to that consciousness. And then then everything else kind of falls into place. I go back and forth between believing that. Depends on my day.
Huh. I think on an individual level that can be true, and on a collective level it's absolutely not true. a bunch of people pursuing salvation in one way or another does not necessarily mean that they live sustainably or do valuable things toward that.
You don't think they would know?
No, ironically enough, God does not seem to tell Christians how to behave in a way that encourages sustainability. He tells Christians how to behave in a way that encourages old Semitic worldviews from the Middle East. Well, that's religion.
That's not spirituality.
But it's a glimpse at the general thing.
Right, but when you put dogma around it, when you like we were talking about before, when you shove it into a box and you make it narrow, then yeah, you have problems. It's when people's egos get in the way. That's what it is. That's what a box is. It's an ego.
Okay.
And so you can belong to an elite social club that sits inside this box, and it's called Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, vegans.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I eat raw, but I'm not
foodies.
like. I mean, I do it because I want to be healthier, not because I want to wear a T-shirt, you know, that says I've been to Rawville and got this T-shirt. You know, do you want to be there with me too? Like,
yeah.
And I'm so glad that I waited this long to do it actually, because if I'd done it at a younger age, before I was humbled as much as I have been in the past couple of years, I would have just been completely driven by ego with it, and it wouldn't have even been healthy. Like, how can you help other people when all you do is judge them all the time? And that's the problem with religion. And I think even the religious people realize that, but they don't know how to. They don't understand that with a title, it's much more difficult. There's that phrase in the Bible that says it's easier for a rich man to pass through. A camel to pass through the eye of the needle than a rich man to enter the city of heaven. You might as well turn that around and say it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a Christian to relate to a non-Christian, like in a way that would really help both of them out.
I guess what I'm getting down to is.
Sorry if I'm squirreling your subject matter around.
No, that's fun because.
That's a conversation, right?
Yeah. Okay, here's what I'm saying. If you look at the problem globally, you can see that. Okay, what I see is that there's no evidence for believing in God leading towards sustainable behavior. There's no evidence for following the Buddha leading towards sustainable behavior. There's no evidence for anything that's come within the context of civilization leading toward behaviors that stray much from civilized behaviors. So if you look at the history of all salvationist religion, which is like any religion predicated on the notion of kind of suffering and salvation, and that covers all the Eastern, Middle Eastern, and Western religions. You know, conspicuously the only thing that doesn't fit in that category are animism type derived religions.
Yes,
yeah.
What you're talking about.
Right, okay, so all the primitive stuff.
The basis of all religion, really. I mean, I said that to a guy the other day, he got so pissed at me. Well, I don't believe that, so sorry, man.
It's interesting. Okay.
It's the fucking truth, look it up.
So what I'm saying is, one way or another, we're steering the car in the wrong direction. Whether the Buddha's driving, when Jesus was driving, with God driving, either way, we keep driving right toward the cliff's edge. And all I'm saying is, if we want to avoid the cliff's edge of extinction from living unsustainably, which is, of course, what happens when you live unsustainably long enough, because that's just kind of by definition, it's like, you know, circular, that which cannot be sustained.
The answer's in the definition.
Yeah, exactly. So when you do all that, kind of, we need a new driver in the seat. In fact, we need a whole new fucking metaphor. We need something else going on. We need, you know, the main defining thing about animist religions was each tribe did its own thing. And it wasn't trying to convert all the other tribes to their thing. The Navajo never gave a shit what the Hopi believed. I mean, I don't know whether or not they ever even lived next to each other.
Yeah, I guess at some point it probably went further than I want your land or I want your women. At some point it did become, we don't like what you think, so we're going to kill all of you. When did that happen?
In the Middle East and Mesopotamia about 12,000 years ago. We got to wrap this up.
Nice.
We're on 14 and a half minutes and YouTube only takes 15-minute things. So, okay. What's your point?
My point is, I think it's absolutely possible to raise humankind to consciousness level. I haven't made up my mind whether or not that's going to require a bunch of people sitting around meditating or a bunch of people getting out and actually doing stuff. Doing stuff makes more sense, but I'm not entirely against the idea that we couldn't all, if every child meditated for 5 minutes a day, you know, and 30 minutes a day and an hour a day as they got older. If every child did that,
Okay,
we
gotta
all be better off.
Possibly.